Pierre Boucher has some great advice. He engineers way up north, near the North Pole, builds radio stations there, and says, if you're going to be up there, you need to be able to not necessarily run faster than the polar bear chasing you, but at least run faster than the slowest person in your group. That and more is coming up next on TWiRT. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store, with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics, with the Bionics Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. By Nautel, worry-free transmission you can count on with outstanding control, reliability, efficiencies, and Nautel's unmatched 24/7 customer support. Online at nautel.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts. Hey, welcome into This Week at Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone, that light bulb at the top of the tower. And I'll tell you, this show here, I'm excited about. We used to try to make it a point to make every 10th show kind of a war stories show. And it just occurred to me a little while ago, like maybe half an hour ago, that, hey, we're going to kind of do a war story show because our guest has plenty of war stories. And I really wasn't planning on it, but happily it turned out that way. Like I said, I'm Kirk. I'm sitting in the Telos Alliance studio in Nashville, Tennessee. It is a chilly, chilly day. It's 48 degrees out there. It's not too terrible. I'll bet it's colder where Chris Tarr is. Chris Tarr.
Yeah, it's 30 degrees. So it's really not much, warmer by you than it is by me. So there you go. It's actually, though, almost a 60-degree swing from the other day. So I'll take it. At least the ice is melting on the driveway and, I'm not worried about slipping when I'm going out to the car. So, it's all good. Other than the Packers losing, I'm in a good mood.
Almost a 60-degree swing. You mean it was 90 degrees there the other day?
No, it was 30 below.
What? You're kidding me. You're kidding.
No.
30 below.
Just one night. And then it warmed up to 30.
Wow.
So
I cannot imagine.
It got cold.
You got to remember to unhook
as I said, it's like one of those, why do I live here type of nights,
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so warm.
So then,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, then we get the Packers losing, and so it's been like a bad week for me. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, the Titans lost recently as well. In a tight game. It was kind of a heartbreaker where they lost. Hey, you've heard his voice. He's lurking in the background. Let's go ahead and bring our guest in, Pierre Boucher. Pierre, welcome in. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Well, I'm glad to have you here.
I've been following. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not mute. Okay. I'm scared I was muted.
No, you're fine.
No, I'm glad to be here, to be with you. And I'm listening to podcasts since years now. It's always, I'm a bit nervous to be with you. I usually on the air weekly here, but with COVID and everything, a lot of show got reduced to bare minimum. So I haven't been on the air for almost 2 years now. So it's pretty different today.
We're going to hear some stories from you and some practical engineering tips and the interesting things about traveling to studios and transmitter sites that are honestly not too terribly far from the North Pole. I mean, just on a global scale. You engineer for some places way up north. So we'll be talking to you about that in just a minute. Our show, This Week in Radio Tech, has a sponsor that we particularly love, and that's Nautel, because Nautel does a great service for our industry. They have Transmission Talk Tuesdays. It's a roundtable discussion. You can actually participate in it. Easy to register for. There's another one coming up, and we're going to bring you a quick tip from Jeff Welton on a previous Transmission Talk Tuesday right now. Let's check it out.
I talked to a guy up in Alaska, Dutch Harbor, who was a field engineer for a bunch of sites. Like a surveyor engineer kind of type guy. And he turned me on to something that I thought was just quite remarkable. He said he's tried carrying, weapons, bear spray, and all that kind of stuff, and it turns out that it's heavy, it's uncomfortable, it's hard to get on a plane, and he found out that he can carry those, air horns, canister air horns, and he said those are really quite good at deterring a bear. I mean, it's not perfect, but I mean, it's enough of a kind of a, it's like an audio flashbang, and they don't like it.
Oh my goodness, what a great idea. An alternative to bear spray or a firearm. Take one of those air horns, one of those canister air horns, and if you got to scare away an animal, ooh, man, that should do it. It would certainly scare me away.
Works for
thanks
my
a lot,
kids.
Nautel. Yeah. And by the way, if you want to go to nautel.com and register, nautel.com/webinars, and register for the Transmission Talk Tuesday. The registration link is up now. You can register for, I think, 4 Tuesdays in February. I'm pretty sure I'm registered now for all of them that they have scheduled for February. I'm registered for. All right. Chris Tarr and I are here along with Pierre Boucher, and maybe we can get a 3-shot here and all get acquainted here. Pierre, you're an engineer along with doing a few other things, but talk to me a little bit about what you do and where you go, because you post on Facebook amazing pictures of a frozen tundra. It must be far away from civilization, but there are civilized people there, and you're fixing radio stations there.
Let's say it's far away from Nashville.
Okay.
Basically, what I do, I work in. I'm a technician consultant for a lot of northern radio station. Mostly in Nunavut, like we spoke about TNI. We'll come back to that later. But sometime I go in Northern Ontario. I do the North Shore in Quebec, and I go up to Nunavut once in a while. In the past, I even went up to Mackenzie River area for some contract. So I try to stay where it's cold. So it's because you develop like quite an expertise going on the field there. It's totally different from anything you're gonna encounter working down south. You deal with snakes and stuff like that. We deal with polar bear at the radio site, sneaky moons, caribou,
polar bears.
Yeah, polar bears.
Really? Oh my God!
You want to see a 300 pounds guy running faster than Ben Johnson?
I'm just going to say the thing about bears is I don't have to run fast. I just have to run faster than you.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have a joke up north. I have a T-shirt here in Inuit that say basically, "Be glad I'm fat. You'll have a chance to survive." There's
my God,
guys running, and of course the fat one is behind.
Okay, now most of us don't really know where these places are that you go and engineer, and I've sent a link over to Suncast. I know he's working furiously right now to take my late-breaking link. Sorry, dude. I'm thinking these things to the last second, but maybe he can get that picture up from a web page. I don't know if he can or not, but you almost can't go much farther north in Canada without being at the North Pole. I mean, these places are way up north.
Yeah, because we have Alert that is basically the highest point. That's in Nunavut. To give you an idea, from Montreal, you have to travel. From Montreal, you have to travel 2.5 hours on a jet on a 737 to either Povonituk or Kuujjuaq. And from there, you take another plane. And it's another 4 hours because there's a lot of takeoff, and we do the milk run. We stop in many communities.
Oh yeah. So
what you have on the map, what you have on the map right now, the red dot, it's basically the two most northern community, Inuit and Salluit, in Quebec, and
right.
Up that, if you go higher, you cross the Hudson Strait, you end up in Nunavut, and then if you go up further, you end up in Russia.
Oh wow! Yeah. Well, I guess we can't go do any engineering in Russia.
I went in a few places up there in the past, so it's pretty interesting. It's always adventure, and but. It's all started by an accident, actually.
Well, give us a short story on that, and then we're going to jump into some of the photographs that you have provided to us. But to tell us the short story on how this radio network or these stations got started.
Basically, I was to start with, Taqramiut Nipingat, my clients there. It's basically something that came from the James Bay Agreement in the 70s, and they had a need to have cultural content in Inuktitut to keep the language alive, to get TV. They were making a lot of TV. They started with TV, actually. And then they developed a radio. But the radio have two sides, and I'll come back to the other one after. TNI, it's basically their cultural channel. Like we have CBC in Canada, who do mostly culture stuff. You have PBS in USA. It's their public network. They have TV. They have shows going on the air in every community. And they have the radio that is produced in Salluit. Main studio is in Salluit. And they retransmit in every community around and using satellite link. And that's a pretty interesting setup because we basically have 1994, 95 internet there, if we're lucky.
Wow.
It's a satellite system. It's changing right now, and it's changing fast because they're moving to fiber. They got fiber going up the North Shore, reaching a village like Kujarapik and up to Povornituk on the Angava coast. So that's one point. If it's not plugged, it's going to be beginning of February. The network should be running there because the village are already all connected, or pretty much all connected on fiber to the houses. So that's not a problem. But they need to bring internet. But all the satellite they have, they're saturated. There are about 12,000 people working there, living there, plus the workers. So there's limit to what you can do on a satellite link. And what they're doing on the other side too, they're planning some uplink fiber and microwave point-to-point in between community. So in a community where you have about 700 people at all time, you don't need to have maybe a big multi-fiber cable because they have to go submarine in that area, and it's not easy to bring the fiber to those community. So they're working on an hybrid. The plan changed a lot over the years because they had problem having the smaller boat to do to pass the cable, and there's a lot of stuff. But so what you do when that's what happened a few years ago. They were dealing with C-band uplink with Telesat, using the traditional way of doing syndication, uplink to satellite, down to the teleport in Montreal and back on the satellite for all the community. But the equipment was getting old, and it's a bit political, so I don't want to go too much into that. But let's say they had to replace the setup on an emergency. It was right before I came in. So what they did, they make an agreement with their internet supplier to have a point-to-point, a VPN to their uplink station down south. And from there, they send the audio on a multicast channel over the internet network, satellite internet network. It's not fast. There's a lot of latency. We just transmit in mono, like with 8K bandwidth right now. It's good. Music is okay, but that's about it. It sounds like a good AM at best.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to where we're going after, because right now we started updating studios and all the equipment. We started with the transmitters in all the community. We replaced with no-tel products, and I'll explain why after.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting all the equipment replaced. We're redoing the studio. Why? Because we want community. They want to have community to be able to exchange content in between them. let's say one village make a radio show and it's available for the other one in syndication automatically. That's why we're implementing in the next years a software called WinMedia, a broadcast automation software that do pretty good with syndication because they have a built-in all the hardware, all the software to sync database in between stations. So that's why we went with that product. It's a French product, and it's pretty good. But we have to train people. If we go in my pictures, let's see.
Tell you what, Pierre, let's take a quick break, and we're going to have a bunch of your pictures lined up. You've provided us an amazing number of pictures. You know what? I looked over them. Maybe we can, if we just spend 15 seconds on each one, I think we can get a lot of pictures.
I'll make quick comments.
You provide some beautiful, beautiful pictures. So hang on, just hang tight. Chris Tarr is here with me on This Week in Radio Tech. Our guest is Pierre Boucher. Now, Pierre is not up in the frozen North Tundra. He's just near Montreal right now, so it's not quite so cold. And he has some sunlight every day at the moment too. It's This Week in Radio Tech, our 580th episode. We're about to get into some adventure as we get into Pierre's pictures. We'll be right back after this quick word from Broadcast Bionics and Camera One.
Camera One from Broadcast Bionics. Designed to bring video to your audio content. Visualizing radio and podcasts for social media. Camera One can automatically create, capture and brand professionally switched video for live streaming or upload, making your production shareable. Control and configure using a web browser on any device. Camera One is available as a 4-camera or 8-camera system using the Blackmagic A10 Mini range, including the A10 Mini Extreme. You can use cameras to suit your studio and your budget. You'll need one camera for a studio wide shot and usually one camera per microphone. A standard multi-channel sound card or IP driver monitors audio from each studio microphone, and we work natively with Axia systems. Ideally, this will be a post-fader feed from each mic, although you can use pre-fade audio or a mic split if that's all you have available. These audio levels are used to intelligently switch the video feed when each contributor is talking. You can also group microphones together into one shot and use the audio from a mixer's aux bus. You can use Camera One's auto switch feature, or disable it and switch using the on-screen buttons or the buttons on the A10. Recordings can automatically start when you tell the system you're on the air. This on-air indication can be linked to your studio's red lights via IP or an Avantec Adam GPIO interface. You can quickly browse all the videos that have been automatically created during your broadcast, download them and post. Camera One is a user-installable system. You'll need a good spec Windows 10 PC, i7 with plenty of storage and 16 gig of RAM. It's better if this machine isn't used for anything else. Remember, you can control the software in a web browser on another device on your network. Camera One, a thrifty way of creating scroll-stopping video from your show or podcast from Broadcast Bionics.
You've got to check this out. If your radio station has any desire to get video on the web or in social media clips, whatever, whether it's a continuous stream or just best of clips, you owe it to yourself to contact Broadcast Bionics. You can do so at the web address bionic.radio. Bionic.radio, or Google Broadcast Bionics. You'll find them. And the Camera One system, it is really awesome. And the folks at Broadcast Bionics are really awesome as well. And I appreciate them very much. Thanks for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Okay, it's Kirk, Harnack, Chris Tarr, Pierre Boucher. I'm talking fast because we've got a lot of photos to bring you. And if you are listening to This Week in Radio Tech only, I'm sorry, we're gonna pass you by. You need to go get yourself a video copy of this show because it's going to be amazing. So I've asked Suncast to line these up and boom, 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 boom through them so we can get through a lot of these. Pierre, tell us what we're looking at here.
That's a Wacom Bay community. It's one of the village on the Ungava coast. And as you see, it's one of the nice day in winter. Just a bit of fog, a bit of snow with the wind around. It was probably around minus 25, minus 30 Celsius there.
What's the language that I see on the building? What's that language?
That's Inuktitut.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
a typical Inuit language, one of the variation, because that's a problem. In those communities, they're all isolated. They have a little bit of a dialect everywhere.
Yeah.
Since a few years, they have more communication. It's standardized up to a point, but still, they have different word for different village here and there. So
All right,
it's
let's move on. We can spend about just a few seconds on each one.
That's a typical news studio and village. Here we're in Opaluk. It's on the south side of southeast side of the Nunavut. That's their community station. I was talking before. We have two type of radio station. We have TNI, the whole network. What is the cultural network? And every village have their own local station where they do message to people. It's a mix in between CB radio and telephone tribunes where people call. People just leave message sometime. Can you tell somebody to be at home at 10 or this or that?
Oh yeah.
They relay message like that. They relay community message. Often the mayor go on air when there's something happening, bad or good or weather.
I gotta share something with Chris Tarr. Chris, remember Northern Exposure and the radio station there? Did you remember that show
I do,
at all?
yes. It's a lot like that.
There was, there was like personal messages on the radio station there when they remembered and filming on the set to actually put a cable into the back of the microphone. They went for years.
Right. It's like how on WKRP they just dropped the needle down to cue the record. Same kind of thing.
That's right. Okay, next picture. We got to move, Pierre. What's this?
That's the same village. That's the station where I was talking about. That's the city hall. And basically they have all the city office, and that's one of the plane when I was talking, everything, there's no road there. It's all by plane. That's a 737-200. There's not so many of them flying anymore, but they're from the 70s. Those are the only plane there who are approved up north for travel strip. That's a Dash 8-300.
Okay. Suncast, if you could bounce back to that 737 picture, Pierre and I were talking about this before the show. This is approved for landing and taking off on gravel runways.
Yes, because those planes have what they call the Arctic kit. It's something that was designed by Boeing back then. If you look at the motor, they're a lot more narrower than the newer 737. So we don't see it on the picture, but they're a little air deflector, like an arm coming in front of the motor that blow air to keep the rocks, the snow, the ice on the runway when the plane take off or land.
Right. It prevents rocks and snow and ice from coming in the engine. And look at the front. This has cargo in the front half.
Yes.
And people in the back half.
There's another picture we're going to see later, because they moved the wall inside according to their needs. So passengers go by the back.
Wall. Oh yeah.
They moved the wall inside. Yes.
Okay, Suncast. Let's move up a couple of pictures then.
By the way, I remember seeing something like that on another YouTube channel from Noel Phillips, who went to one of these villages. I think it might have been this exact airport that he was at, and he was talking about these planes that are half cargo planes, half passenger planes, because they just don't have
There's
enough
a lot
passengers.
Of them. Yeah. And that's a Dash 8-300. Those are basically our bus there, because there's no road. Imagine a bus with wings. That's a Dash 8-300. And the weather is rough on the plane. It's pretty cold. So that kind of incident happened quite often. In that case, they flew a mechanic from Povornituk to Akulivik, where we were, to replace a wheel, a flat on that plane.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
maybe 2 hours later.
What's this?
That's in George River in Kenyik-Chwadujuak. It's in the summer, but you see the weather, how the weather can move fast there. Within a minute, we turn from a sunny day you see on the left to the storm coming on the right. And it was crossing the bay. We're at low tide right now. But if you look in the middle of the picture on the right, it's basically the waterfront there. But the tides are very high in that area. So the bay gets completely empty. And then it's refilled at So, but you see the weather on those pictures. It's
now here we have. Hey, something we know about broadcast equipment. Okay, Chris.
There's a few. There are a few of everything. We're working hard to standardize equipment. We use ground transmitter for years. You see the barracks we use for TNI for the network on those. Pretty simple setup with a Cisco switch for the VPN and the multicast bridge. And you know those no tel transmitter. And you probably noticed something. That's a VS300. And look at the power. We only run them never past 30 watts basically.
Real.
Because don't forget, it's small community. There's no trees, and 20 watts at the right spot in those places go a long way. So
wow.
It's that's weather. That's in the Kanyasuk. It's on the east side, southeast side too. Pretty interesting community. That's one of the plane I have chanced. That's my preferred plane. It's a King Air. Those are just amazing little birds. And it was pretty crowded. That's in Kujwak. It's in winter. And as you can see, we have trees in that place. I put that photo for that reason. You see the trees? And it's the tree line is there. As soon as you pass the village, there's no more tree. They learn better. They know better. They didn't go up. And one of the hotel rooms, just to show that people think we live in igloo up there and shack. No, we have
cool.
really nice accommodation.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. It's and that's pretty much a standard now. They're renovating a lot of the hotels. That's one of the older station. I put that picture and something's missing. You're probably going to notice. There's no computer.
Ooh,
in many community, people still use tapes and CD.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to train them to use computer. That's going to be a real challenge because another things, a lot of the elders who work in radio, people from the 70s and 80s, they barely speak English. They mostly just speak Inuktitut. So we have to find ways. That's at the local restaurant in POV in Povonituk. And it's in the spring, snow's melting. So that's a way to go for many people, those four-wheelers. We see them all over in every village. They're sturdy, and you notice on many of them, they replace the tires with car tires because
really?
the average four-wheelers tires don't last up north because the rock, you don't see it on the picture, but the rock contains a lot of quartz. It's pretty abrasive.
Yeah.
So regular tire, you'll do a summer with it if you're lucky. Otherwise, they just go away in no time. So that's why a lot of them you'll see. That's TNI studio I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It was during the transition. I still have the old Dallas system running, but that's we use a lot of Wheatstone console. Sorry for Telos. It's nothing against Telos, but there's two things. When you work on remote community, how easy I can reach my distributor, I can reach the company for support, and how easy it is to reach them. And basically with Wheatstone, that's why we went with those. It's because they're easy to join. They're in the same time zone, basically. It's not too bad. And the product worked for us up north. And okay, Jay is getting a Facebook message from me all the time when I'm up north. Otherwise, I try to use regular support line. But when I'm stuck up north,
I see the Lysol, the Lysol wipes there. Talk to me about COVID. What are you guys doing with COVID, or what have you been dealing with there?
Basically, they have you as you probably figure out. Health-wise, all the health center are pretty good, but it's pretty limited. When somebody gets something serious, they have to medvac them to major center like Povonituk or Kujwak or down to Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon COVID hit, they had to really restrict people access. So they went on no travel bans 3 times already. So actually, they just lifted partially for workers. So I'm going back, if everything goes well, on the 11th, February 11th. I'll be there for 21 days. But it's pretty strict. We have to quarantine. We have to have all the 3 vaccine. There's tests every 2 days, and it's pretty complicated. But we'll get through it. We saw worse. They're having case, but the scary part, it's in many villages. The problem it's they have comorbidity. They have tuberculosis. It's still around up north, and they have a bad version of it, if I can say.
Yeah.
So they're working hard to get rid of that. They have diabetes, heart issues. It's something that happened in every community, but COVID doesn't help, of course. But so far, it's getting there. So far, it's okay.
Before we take our next break, let's see a few more pictures, if we could. We maybe time for 2 or 3 more, and then we'll take a break.
Yeah. That's in Salluit, the village you had on the card on the map before. Yeah. Everything arrived either by boats. You see the boats on the left, and I was on top of the mountain because the village is in between. It's in a valley in between the mountain. So the boats come in, and they have to be unloaded with. They can't come to the pier. They have to unload them and bring the stuff down the old way. Typical summer, winter pictures. A balmy -40 probably. That's one of the community studio. Again, that one is in Salluit. It's their local FM. We did set up the studio. They still had some painting and flooring to do, but it's pretty neat. It worked for them. We put a bit of soundproofing. No, we keep that simple. That's the thing. We try, because we have to keep in mind we work with people who have basic technical knowledge, and they go on air. They have to be trained by their peer. The fog. That village is known for fog. You can get stuck there for days when it happened. And that I was at the TNI radio station. You see the Salluit Bay with the typical summer weather. And there's no tree. I was talking about the tree line. We're way past the trees. They're like 1,000 kilometers below.
Oh my gosh.
So no trees there. And it was that day was probably around 14 or 15 Celsius. In summer, it's still comfortable. It's not like high Arctic. We get 3 weeks of a good summer every year. So
a good 3 weeks. You hear that, Chris? A good 3 weeks of summer.
I did. That's kind of like, it's kind of like us. We get like 3 good months and then we're done.
Vacation land for 3 weeks.
But when it goes, that's a funny part. When it goes, it's like, today it's 20 Celsius. Sorry, I speak Canadian.
Oh, that's fine. 20 Celsius 20, is comfortable. It's comfortable.
And sorry about that.
No worries.
And the very next day, it's minus freezing. We get the boots out and the winter coat, winter parka, and it turned fast when it happened.
All right, we are talking to Pierre. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead with the question. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so, infrastructure-wise, that must take a toll a little bit on things like power and antennas and gear like that with temperature swings and the extremes and everything. How did you come together with the, I want to say, recipe to make everything work? I'm guessing that Nautel's part of that, and some of these other things with these remote sites where it could be a hostile environment, where this equipment lives.
The thing is, personally, now that we're replacing stuff, I'm going over and over everything. I need to have everything overbuilt, basically, when we work. So transmitter, we put 300-watt transmitter for 30 watts, and it's fine. The antenna, it's the same. We put big 5/8 Heliax cable with all the right clip, and you learn to use coaxial and stuff like that, and that's how you learn how to use the real zip tie, not the cheap one, because they can go through your cable in winter. if you're not lucky. They really cut through like butter with the wind. Antenna, it's nothing fancy, just dipole. And what save us, we don't go high. Don't forget, we don't need small some communities. Most of the time at 20, 30 watts, the antenna is like 20, 30 feet up, and that's about it. So it's pretty easy to go there and maintain. Our main issue, it's the snow removal. In between the building, when they move snow, we have cable crossing around from the building to the tower.
Oh, sure.
Every winter, we have snow guys pulling an antenna cable every year. There's 2 broken right now, and they're waiting for guys to be able to go up. I'm not the guy climbing too much the tower anymore. It's health-wise, it was a bit rough, so I have enough work anyway to do. And because don't forget, when you travel up north, you have to bring up everything.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I have no hardware store. There's a bit of stuff at the general store, the co-op there, but nothing that I can usually get around working with. So I have about 300 pounds of luggage on a trip. We sent some by cargo before, but I have pictures in my gallery that shows all my luggage together for a typical trip. I was in Taqramiut waiting for the truck, for the hotel truck, and it's just a pile. I have a big plastic bin, plus my toolbox, and only that you need to pack your stuff properly. Because
Pierre, we're going to take a look at that picture and more in just a few minutes. It's time for a quick break here. Pierre Boucher is our guest, and I've known Pierre, maybe you have too, on Facebook for actually quite a few years. He posts pictures from transmitter sites and from his travels. Typically, he posts pictures of bad weather at airports. There's a lot of those pictures, and so we're enjoying hearing about how he's doing engineering way up north of the Arctic Circle, and 1,000 kilometers north of the tree line. So, oh my goodness. And so we're going to hear more about, planning a trip, making sure you have every screw, every connector. And he said that all you have is a general store there. So I'm guessing the general store doesn't have end connectors for 1/2-inch coax. I'm just guessing they don't have that. Here's something that Pierre maybe should take with him on his next trip, because it might save him some trouble. And that is the headphone disconnector from my friends at Angry Audio. Now, the headphone disconnector is this pigtail right here. So here's the headphone gizmo from Angry Audio. This is a nice headphone amp, and it can be under your counter, or you can set it on top of the counter if you want to. It's got, both sizes of headphone jacks, 1/4-inch and 3.5 millimeter. But, the problem is, hey, if one of the air talent has their headphones plugged directly in, and they forget that the headphones are around their neck and they get up and walk away, guess what? It's going to break something here. It could break what's inside, or it could break their headphone plug. With the headphone disconnector, you don't have that problem. Look, if they get up and walk away, bam! Look at that. It's a magnetic. It's kind of like the Apple MagSafe design. And look, it'll go right back together. Well, if I help it a little bit, it'll go right back together. It only goes one way, so you don't get the left and right turned around, and it just works great. The headphone disconnector, it's available in a 1/4-inch tip ring sleeve design for your 1/4-inch headphones, but it's also available in a 3.5 millimeter tip ring sleeve design. And hey, if you need to, they're interchangeable. You can take, the male part of the let's say that your headphones have the 3.5 millimeter. So you'd grab the female jack on there, and you can take the 1/4-inch tip ring sleeve and put these together. So now you've got an automatic adapter to go from the headphone 3.5 millimeter for earbuds or whatever into your professional headphone amplifier. So the headphone disconnector, it will save your bacon from having to repair silly things from talent that forgets about their headphones. That and lots more at angryaudio.com. There's the website. Check it out. They got the Bluetooth gadgets, headphone amps, all of the Studio Hub adapters that you need to make wiring an easy thing. Check it out. Hey, our show is also brought to you by our friends at Max Connect Wireless. We're going to hear this quick testimonial. We'll be right back.
With all of the recent cybersecurity attacks against large corporations, we were looking for a product that would give us the ultimate security at our transmitter sites and as well as with our broadcast equipment. MaxConnect fits the bill very well. Its greatest security feature is the fact that it gives you a single static IP address. Using this single static IP address allows us to close hundreds of open ports on our firewalls across the company and restrict access to only the MaxConnect IPs. This has greatly reduced our exposure to the World Wide Web and made us much more secure moving forward. It has also given us the ability to expand as needed in a secure fashion.
Remember, MaxConnect isn't dependent upon the hardware directly. Here is a Cradlepoint 4G LTE modem. Here's a PepWave 4G LTE modem. What makes MaxConnect work like it does, like broadcasters need with prioritized data and a static IP address, it's the MaxConnect network. Yes, it's part of your other popular networks. You can get it on T-Mobile, you can get it on AT&T Wireless or on Verizon, and they have some options in Canada as well. But it's the APN, it's the SIM card that goes in there that tells the carrier, hey, this person's special. They are going to get every packet of data that you can possibly move, irrespective of other people using the network. You may be next to a stadium with 60,000 people in the stands, all checking their Facebook feed or calling somebody about the game or the Super Bowl or whatever it may be. Well, this overcomes that because you get prioritized data. Your data goes before everybody else's, except for first responders on that cell site. So check it out. It is from MaxConnect Wireless. It's at MaxConnect. I know it's spelled funny. You can check our show notes if you forget how to spell it, maxconnect.com. Thanks to Josh Bone for doing such a great job of negotiating this service for broadcasters. It's what we need. All right. It is time to continue here. We are talking with Pierre Boucher. Chris Tarr is here. Chris, this is pretty fascinating, don't you think? This talk about engineering.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's certainly not to the level that I have, but I can relate to some of that stuff because in the winter, I have sites that are not real accessible. Unfortunately, I have a really good, one of the best transmitter guys on the planet, John Zeckerly. We sometimes have to, before the winter, kind of plan out what we're going to do. And you mentioned the tools. It's kind of the same way where, I have my Jeep that I have all of my tools in because sometimes you get one chance to get to that site and then that's it. If you don't make it or if you don't have what you need, you're in a real problem. So, I can relate to some of this. Of course, it's not nearly to the extreme that you have, but yeah, it is very fascinating. Especially some of these pictures are just great.
Keep in mind, you're the Jeep.
What's that?
Up north, you're the Jeep most of the time.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is it's not even, even then, I don't have the same issues that you do with having to, carry the stuff around on your back or, fly it around or, at least I have a place where I can store it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some more of these pictures now.
There's a picture called TWiRT 4. If you see the album,
if we keep going in the same order we have, then that'll be easy for Suncast. And
we'll probably get it. Yeah, that's what Salluit, the main village. When I say everything go by satellite, here you have the internet uplink, downlink. You have the telephone, the Bell telephone system. Those are older dish, but they work fine. They updated the equipment around, but they still use them up north. They're sturdy. They just work. Hey, those dish been there for 20, 30, 40 years sometime, and they survive everything.
Oh my God.
So I can say the Andrew product, they just survive there. And that one is in Wacom Bay, and just amazing to see the weather change. I just put it on the bay. You see the rain and the sun. It's when you see that in real, the picture don't do justice. It's just that's me. I was on top of the mountain. We have an Inuit there in Salluit. That's when I took the other picture we saw with the boat in the village from above. Because there's about, 800 feet from the village to there. So, and we're at the same height. The airport isn't on the mountain too. Sometime you're okay in the village and you can't go to the airport because it's weather is too bad there. We saw that a few times too. Yeah, well, I was talking about bad weather at the airport. That's a good one.
Hey,
You can't see anything.
Pierre, you mentioned about when you'd think good weather would be a good time to work, but you said, "Oh no, if the weather's good, you can't find anybody." What's the reason for that?
The people go. I do hope they don't listen to me, but it's okay. Quite often, if it's weather get exceptionally nice, like it happened during the fall, we have summer-like weather for like 3 days in a row on a weekend, and like in October. And guess what? Everybody were gone fishing. Or if they hear beluga in the bay, they're all gone fishing. If there's caribou around, they're all gone for caribou because they still eat a lot of country food there, and they go get their food, and it's perfect that way. I totally agree with that. But when it happened, you just have to. It's fine. It's okay. We'll see them Monday.
I imagine a lot of your job deals with just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. Go follow the beat there. It's
you guys may
otherwise
not know,
you won't survive.
Chris is a gourmet chef, and Chris, I'm thinking of some things here. I'm thinking of some caribou stroganoff. That sounds pretty good.
It's absolutely delicious. I do that.
Instead of fish tacos, beluga tacos. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. But they have Arctic char that would be wonderful for that.
Oh, there you go.
It's a salmon type fish. That's the I was talking about TNI before. That's their main studio. We saw the console before, but I took a picture from the whole place. That's the older setup in Mini Village. The old DNR console. They served them well. They're pretty sturdy products, but it's limited in terms of broadcast. Same thing here. That one was in Inuvik. No, I don't remember which one. I'm not sure of that one, but still, all the satellite. Look at the angle of those satellite dish.
Yeah,
it's just you're up north when the satellite dish. You don't have to remove the snow in them.
Yes, it just falls right off because the dish is vertical.
Yeah, a bit of wind and they clean up nicely. You rarely have to go remove snow.
The satellite dishes on the equator, like in American Samoa, you talk about a 5 meter bird bath.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to make sure you got drain holes in the.
That's the Suyak in the fall, end of summer, beginning of fall, and you see the ground basically froze overnight, so you see the temperature difference with just the weather fog in the back. And there's a lot. People think it's just rock. No, if you look at the ground, it's actually plants. Yeah, we see them there. There's a lot of variety. There's a lot of small fruit they pick. They go berry picking every fall, and they have all kind of berry. A bit difference depends of the region because it's so huge, that area. They don't taste the same. They don't have the same fruits everywhere, same berries. There are little variation everywhere, so it's pretty interesting. That's the Suyak, another local FM station. Like I said, it's basic operation. They need a lot of space because they have people coming in. They often do events. They do bingo. In every village, you do a bingo over radio. It's pretty popular everywhere. And in that system I use, that's the airport at the village I was before, the picture we saw before. And when people think we have a nice setup there. They invested in their community. They invest a lot of money they get from mining. They have money coming from Raglan mines and others. They have a pretty good amount of money going back to them. So they invest them in their public infrastructure because they're not governed like a reserve. It's really village with a city council, and they have to answer back to the administrative KRG government, Civic Region government. So everything is public. That's my toolbox. That's typical when I do a turnaround. I go visit a few cities. All my toolbox, my part box, my clothing, my freezer box for food, my carry-on luggage, and so.
Wow.
And
these tools. Okay, hey. I want to warn everybody, pay attention here, because Pierre has tested all different kinds of tools. Pierre, this is, I'll put a link to this company in the show notes. Tell us what we're looking at here with these tools.
Right now, you have in that picture, it's Wera tools. You have some other unders, but I went through them because I noticed their tools were lighter and very sturdy. It's high quality stuff. But when you travel a lot with your tools, it's pretty important to have something as light as possible. Every pound
Absolutely.
you can save air and there. Everything is weighted. Everything is calculated. And you have no choice. So I discovered their tools, them, and for pliers, I discovered Knipex. I keep some of their pliers in my tools because they're a bit lighter than average, I'd say, Klein tools or stuff like that are pretty good down south for normal operation. But when you get up north and you have to carry a lot of stuff, all other things too, get the right one, get the right stuff when you go far. But it's because if something have to break and put you in trouble, it will break and put you in trouble.
Yeah.
So, and you can't have everything in double.
After going through your toolbox and picking the lighter weight tools, and I'll put a link to that Wera brand in the show notes. You said you saved a total of about 15 pounds.
Yeah, I remove about 15 pounds switching to Wera and Knipex tools, and it's pretty amazing. Depends what you do. Just as an example, instead of carrying vice grip, they have a plier called the Cobra pliers at Knipex, a German company, and it's a lot lighter than other products, and those are perfect when you have a big end connector stuck somewhere or big screw. And I have all the wrench, of course, and everything, but sometimes you need that kind of stuff. But if you carry 2 or 3 of them, you're at 10, 15 pounds already with just vice grip. They're pretty good, pretty sturdy, but you can't afford to have that in your luggage when you go up. It adds up too fast, and that's why we have to be very careful about that. Same thing with parts. We have to plan everything. That's a nice plane. That's a Twin Otter. It's a plane from the 50s, 60s.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Turboprop plane.
Yeah.
It's a turboprop. It's a small truck, basically. You can, and there's no wall in between you and the cargo on those planes.
And I remember look at the engine controls and the propeller controls are overhead. So when you're getting ready to take off, especially on a short runway, the pilots will hold the brakes and they'll reach up and grab the throttles up overhead. And and I've been on a plane on a tiny island where the pilot flying put his hand on the throttles and the other pilot put his hand on the other pilot's hand. They wanted to make absolutely sure that the engines were doing full power to get off that island because they didn't want to go.
That's exactly what they do there.
Yeah,
on short
both pilots.
Takeoff, on heavy takeoff, short takeoff, they often the two guys work on the top on the gas and everything. They have on the throttle. They have no choice.
Superman.
And that was funny because there's snow. I'm in Wacom Bay, but it was pretty warm that day. Even with the snow and the ice behind, it was probably 10, 15 degrees outside. So I went out in t-shirt and smelting. It's totally different from what we're used to see. So at Village, all the houses, they're pretty nice house because they have a program. Most of the houses are subsidized and managed by the community. So they get them renovated. They have program. The stop sign in Inuktitut and English.
And English, wow.
And dish again. That's what the radio station in Wacom Bay in Kanyik-Sujwak. Same thing, the antenna for...
I'm surprised, Pierre, that, and I think Chris was alluding to this too, that the utilities are overhead. And I would have thought that they would try to bury underground these utilities. Tell me about the choice to keep them overhead.
Impossible, because you don't have ground under. It's permafrost.
Oh.
Basically, if you notice on the picture, the houses are not built in a row. They are built wherever they can put them. When the rock is stable enough, they put the houses, you'll see. Sometimes they're more or less aligned because they found a rock formation that was stable. They put they built a gravel pad They put a standoff because all the houses have no basement. And in those villages, you have no water and sewage. It's impossible to carry sewage and water there. So they have water truck, sewage truck, and every houses have their own tank, sewage tank, water tank.
Wow.
So the truck come regularly and fill up, empty the sewage, fill up the water.
And on the side of the truck, it says fresh water and septic tanks pumped, not same truck.
No, one truck is painted yellow and the other one is painted gray or blue. You have to be careful. Trust me. It can happen after a big party the night before, and they don't use the same nozzle, I think, for the system. They got everything standardized.
Okay. What's this?
And that's from up the mountain, the village we just saw the house. That's more in the winter, and you see all the community down the mountain.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A lot of those community were installed around a former Hudson Bay Company store. They had some they call poste de traite. I don't know in English the term, but they have those relay all over Nunavut back then. Because don't forget, most people up to the 60s, they were traveling all the time. They were moving around. And they had those Hudson Bay stores in different spots. And even the hospital back then was a boat for most of it. They had dispensaries in small community. But many people were traveling around. They were nomad people. So when somebody come and say, oh, they don't know what they're doing in this, and they start complaining about them, I said, okay, look, in 40 years, they went from this to what they do today. It's pretty impressive. I would say it's not perfect. There's still work. But how many people can be that resilient? That's the thing I say to myself. Every time I get angry at something up north, something happening, I always remind myself that some people I work with, actually were born in tent or igloo in some cases in the older one.
Wow.
So
look at this last picture. I've never seen the Northern Lights. Oh my gosh.
That one's nice. We have a lot when they're pretty strong. We get yellow. We get yellow and pink and purple. It's pretty typical at the Nunavut 8, a lot of purple. And if you see them from the plane itself, I remember one time, one of the first time I went to Salluit, I was invited in the cockpit on the Dash 8. And on approach at about 5,000 feet, we had that giant, humongous Northern Light, all yellow. It was like fire at the horizon. It was over Nunavut. It was further north. It was like a ring of fire around. It was just too crazy. They made a turn. They waited to just pass a bit because it was so bright.
Yeah.
That they went around the village and went back for the airport. It was just too impressive, especially when you're in the cockpit and you see that it's all dark and you have a big window compared to the small side window on the plane.
Chris, do you ever get Northern Lights in Wisconsin? You ever see those?
Yeah. I mean, it's not nearly as great as that, but on when they come out, normally if you can get out country where it's dark, you can see them really well.
So I've been out in the country here in Tennessee, and once in a while we get Northern Lights, but it's caused by Chris cranking up his ham radio rig so strong.
You're not supposed to say that. You're going to have the FCC knocking his door.
Hey, we got a last break to take right now. We have seen so many great pictures, and Pierre, it's been a delight to see this. But we've got a tip of the week coming up. Chris Tarr always has a great tip of the week, and Pierre, I'm going to spring this on you, of course, last minute. I'm sorry I didn't mention it before. I never think of it till the last break. But a little tip of the week, and maybe a travel tip or a tool tip, so whatever you want. It's coming up. This Week in Radio Tech, it's our 580th episode. Oh, my goodness. And our show is brought to you in part by Vox Pro. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's happening? St. John here, coming to you from Command Central, and wanted to tell you about the absolute best partner you can have in radio. I'm talking about, boom, Wheatstone's Vox Pro. Lots of different audio software out there. Why Vox Pro? It's the only software designed to do what we needed to do, which is record, edit, playback in real time. When I say lightning fast, I'm going to show you how fast you can edit stuff up in Vox Pro right now. Literally 3 clicks on the controller, mark left, mark right, everything that gets marked, you hit delete, it goes away. It's literally that fast. So we're going to take this part right here. Boom. From caller 9 to him saying, I'm ready.
5, ready for that secret sound.
Boom. All of that stuff, hit delete, it goes away. Here's your edit.
You are tackling secret sound, caller 9.
I'm ready, St. John.
So one of the best features of version 7, this is awesome. It's effects macros, and you can literally put a chain of effects together so that instead of having to normalize a phone bit and then use noise reduction on it and EQ it and all that, you can literally build a chain. One button, this one's called call right here. I just click that. All of those processes happen instantaneously. Final thing that I love about Vox Pro, and there's so much more to get into, but one of my favorite things, you can load it on a laptop. I've literally done my show from a hotel room in Armenia to the conference room at, this was fun, jury duty. Great thing, no one could tell the difference. Vox Pro makes it totally easy. Telling you, if you're looking for the best on-air partner, call my friends at Wheatstone, ask them about Vox Pro, and you will be glad you did.
And you can get Vox Pro from Broadcasters General Store, BGS, the website, bgs.cc. Of course, you can do what I do, and that's just pick up the phone and talk to them. BGS has built their business around talking to a real person on the phone, someone with broadcast experience and also lots of experience in supply chain, getting you the things that you want. At 352-622-7700. That's 352-622-7700. Thanks a lot to Vox Pro, and thanks to Broadcasters General Store in Ocala, Florida, where they don't have very much snow. Thanks a lot for sponsoring the show. All right, we're here with Chris Tarr, my co-host, and Pierre Boucher is here as well. Chris, would you like to kick us off with a tip?
Sure. Actually, I just heard my grandkids walking in the door, so I'm excited to get moving here. My favorite thing recently has been my Rolodex. Obviously, we talked about I have so many transmitter sites and so many different places to go and things to do that I this week have been taking time to appreciate my entire group of contract engineers. I have some of the best in the industry, but it's so great to have somebody who specializes in transmitters. That's John Zackerly. We've got somebody who specializes in studio stuff. That'd be Eric. And I was just talking to Gary, who does a lot of our tower work. I had an issue this past week or a week before where I have an antenna where I think one of the connectors is burned out. So we're actually on an auxiliary site right now. But it's so great to be able to, call these people up, get them on a conference call and get them all talking and, really putting our heads together to get things solved. So instead of hardware, my suggestion this week is, get a list of those people that you really admire, that are really smart, and appreciate them, because I'll tell you what, if they do well, I do well. And, I can't appreciate them enough.
All right. Good deal. Good tip. And we go to Pierre for our last word and a tip of the week. Pierre?
Hey, last tip of the week. 2 things. When you travel up in remote area, don't bring cheap tools. Get the good stuff. You'll save so much time. And another time saver, and I would say lifesaver, those guys.
Oh yeah.
Angry Audio.
Mm-hmm.
I have all kind of goodies from them with network cable and my stuff and everything. You can't imagine how many times I got away with things. I fixed things in short notice just using a Studio Hub, Angry Audio products. They're just amazing. Always had good feedback with them. Never had issue. So that's the kind of stuff that you keep around. You keep a good assortment of all the connectors. Even sometimes just to do a temporary test. You can't always have your soldering iron on and start putting XLR connector together and this and that and that. You put that, you plug the network cable, you go to the other end, it takes 2 minutes to do a network cable. It's crimping. It's done. So it's pretty important. It's like that's the kind of stuff who can save you a lot of trouble when you go to a remote site to do maintenance.
Great tip. I appreciate that, and I've done that myself. And I hate it if I didn't bring enough Studio Hub connectors, and I have to actually break the soldering iron out. I get so mad. I don't like that. Wasting my time here. All right, we got to go. Chris Tarr, thank you very much. I think he had to skedaddle on out to keep the grandkids at bay, keep them from hurting themselves. And Pierre Boucher, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been an absolute delight. And thank you for sharing all these great pictures, too. Yeah,
it's always wonderful. And in time, maybe we'll meet soon in Vegas, or if things can get back to normal soon, we'll get there.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
I would love to see you. All right. Thanks a lot to our producer, Suncast, for manipulating the controls and keeping up with so many busy things. Appreciate him. Suncast, thank you very much. And thanks to Andrew Zarian, the founder of the GFQ Network. Hey, we've got more great guests coming up in February, so stay with us. Tell your friends about This Week in Radio Tech, and thank you for watching and for patronizing our sponsors. I'm Kirk Harnack. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.